Hello guys, how are you? I'm going to continue doing the campaign as I told you. Today I'm going to speak about a tax reform, okay? Because first thing that I'm going to do is present to Congress a tax reform, okay? Because it has to be some changes. Because when the Civil War ended, the economy was pretty much, you know, very bad. And now, we have the US dollar all across the world, everywhere. And the issue with the dollar is that the system that the dollar has doesn't match the tax system of the United States of America, you know? For example, the income tax. I don't agree that there is an income tax in this situation, yeah? And many of the capitalists or the communists or the big capitals, they don't want to and they in fact they don't pay any income tax, you know, and they do receive subsidies. So what is the thing? After Nixon, they like start making the model of the universe. You know, they just before that the Earth economy matches the economy of the heavens. You know, I'm not talking about Europe. I'm talking about heaven, the out of space. You know, the planets, the universe, the black hole, everything. You know. And what Nixon did was start making its own or American own model of the universe. That is called, if I'm not mistaken, is LHDM, something like that model of the universe. And that is what is everything is there, you know, the planets, the companies, the banks as black holes, and small banks or regional banks as suns. Everything is there, yeah. Even my bank is also there, you know, as a small black hole. There is in the news and everything with the analogies. So this is for the woke people, no? Because they say, oh, the because I understand they have making the people against woke, and with the Nazi, that Nazi flag means like one nation, you know, like indivisible under God. So is the nation indivisible, yeah, under God. There is the red, you know, one nation indivisible under God. And it's not a bad thing, you know. What was bad was the Holocaust, you know, because the ideas, because if someone do something wrong, then everything is bad now, you know. You have to understand and respect the opinions of the other people, so the other people respect yours. So, and I'm Jew, okay. I'm Catholic and Jew Catholic, you know. So I don't, but I do respect, you know, because we were at war and we won, you know. But that doesn't mean that they don't have any respect, because we killed them in a big way also. So they are fighting against themselves, because woke people are the ones that make their point of fascism or manism, you know, that see how the universe is being manipulated everywhere. And for example, this was completely quiet, and then I placed the start taping, and now is the music of the place of the president of this country, you know, the governor, the secretary, because now here in South America, the sons, the banking elites, now they control Latin America and communist like union, and they have one coin that is the Latin American coin, and when you derive it against the dollar, that gives you one. And it depends on the leverage on that depends on a lot of things. There's the currencies that we use, and we have secretaries of the government are like the United Nations, you know, is like secretaries of 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 the countries, you know. And Well, it's a different model, and that is what happens if you don't apply the taxes correctly. Yeah, because United States is going that way, and well, of course we cannot allow that, because imagine that it's like a is the problem is not communism, because communism is always going to exist, they always going to exist communism, and always going to exist manism, yeah, because that is how they said, oh no, now we won, communism has won, and fascism now doesn't exist, the first testament doesn't exist anymore, we only exist now, we are the communists, where the second testament, and that's it, and that is not true, because each and every single head of a company is a man, is a man, so it's not true. That is the only thing true, is that not everyone is a man, but that doesn't mean that fascism is not anymore, it's only that the mans are a few, and the rest is like before the French Revolution and stuff like that. They have no soul. It's not that they don't have soul. It's that they are not aware of they are being driven all the time, and that is what the woke means, But they have now placed that the woke are gays, because of course the woke, they make all the wokes get homosexuals. That's it. And if they are alpha males or betas that are the banks, or the thetas that are the ones of the intelligence and the churches and stuff like that, they of course they are going to make it homosexual or whatever. That's why we need to be aware of that. Yeah, for that not to happen to us. Okay, and I'm with the left. I'm not with the far right, because the far right is doing that, but they are saying to their people that the other side is doing that, and the other side is not doing that. Just that we are not going to allow Holocaust to the homosexuals, as they have created to print money, And that is the truth, and you can ask anyone. That is the truth. That is why the Catholic Church, is also with the homosexuals and the minorities, because if not, it's going to be a Holocaust. Because they have become like that because of the possibilities, because they don't want those people to have kids. Most of them should be the ones directing the economy, like working the most, the alpha males. And that people were made that way. So it's a cultural problem that we have here. We are undermining our future leaders, our future strongest population. So in the taxes, I agree that we don't pay, or anyone pay, income tax. I do agree that we all pay the VAT, the value added tax, because since the GDP of the United States is like 29% of the economy of the world, something like that, but the USD has a 55% of the world economy, and the euro is dollar denominated currency, because it's backed by nothing. They don't produce, they only demand and transform. So it's more or less like China. Is like a M2 of the dollar. That will be M1. It's like a bond, a US bond. That is the yuan. That is Juan, like John in Latin. And it's also part of the whole, like, communist, universe of the NSA with the church and London and the empire, and all the stuff that was in England, now is in the United States, and we have become the bad guys. But still, we need to fix it, just to make it good. It's not that being a bad guy is not bad. Being a bad guy is winning. It's not wrong. It's just that we need to do it correctly. For each, respecting the Constitution, each citizen has the same rights that every single deep stater or banker or whatever. Believe me, I enjoy privileges, but I fight, and if I didn't fight for the people, believe me, I will be like billionaire a long time ago. But I prefer fighting, because I also carry the cost of doing that. So that's why That's why I fight for that, you know. So this like in the parks, you know, when I start speaking, those arrive. So we what the income tax is only taken from the 29% of the dollar economy, you know, in the United States. But you have to know that all the oil of the world is will trade in dollars. All the commodities are traded in dollars. Most of the food is traded in dollars, and a lot of things are traded in other things. Like they say, oh, the yuan is now being the okay, but that the yuan is also dollar denominated because the American bankers are the one that back the China's debt. If not, that is going to explode like the Soviet Union anytime, you know. So for that, for United States doesn't become China and become like the Soviet Union because we are going that way like in a super matter, you know. We need to make a tax reform to make an equilibrium, because if not, it's going to be impossible to produce because it's only real economy, like kingdom economy, and it's not wrong. It's just that it doesn't let the population to have their own business, you know. Because if, for example, the rent or the like, because it's stagflated, it's an stagflated economy, it's a model that the whole world is stagflated, and you can grow but you need to take from others, you know. And you can do that, but you you can do it from the barrier of the black hole, yeah, that is the United States economy, to outside. Everything has to be that way, and from the barrier to inside has to be in equilibrium, yeah, because it's like, don't get high on your own supply, yeah. You do wrong to others, you don't do wrong to your family, you don't do wrongs to your people, you do wrong to any other person that you have to do wrong that for your people to thrive, yeah. Not your people, any other person, no matter what you have to do, but not to your people, yeah. Everything is allowed from that barrier outside, and I'm talking about a imaginary boundary, yeah, it is the universe of the economy, you know. I'm not talking about the borders, you know. So uh, the income tax, it doesn't have any meaning, you know, because uh, what the reform has to be that the Fed has to pay the taxes of all the things that the government has, except the VAT and some other small taxes. So that is in interest rates, you know, so to have the net zero interest rates inside the economy for the economy of the United States to be able to function, you know. So if something happens, the rest of the world collapse, not USA, you know. In equilibrium, what is equilibrium? That I don't need to a collateral as for example, as to make collateral of my real estate, to be to count that that is going to go up, to be able to have credit to subsidize my production, you know, because that is the way that is being done now. And you hedge your losses with bonds, with international bonds of other countries, with real estate, with the stock market, with a lot of stuff, and that is wrong, because that eliminates the price signals, and that is why the Soviet Union collapsed, you know, because it destroyed the price signals, and the Soviet Union had better mathematicians that the United States of America has now. Okay, the best of the world, and they collapse it. You know? Why? Because it's impossible. When it's like you stop time. You know, that was the Second Testament. Is that, you know? Is, and I'm not, and I'm Catholic. You know, but it's like to rule over others, you know, slavery. I'm not meaning that the First Testament doesn't have its problem, you know, Even more, the First Testament is the one that says that, and the Second Testament is the one that do the other thing, because you project the other, because it's like a brain, left and right. There is the Bible, but they are saying that it's only Second Testament, only right, and you have to have left. And I'm talking not about left hand. I'm talking about the brain. Of course, the United States is an empire. Sorry, is like the other way around. The left of the brain is the right, and the right is the well. It is the other way around of the other people in the world. It's like a church, for example. You sit and you see the priest, and the priest is looking at you, and your left is his right. See the same when you see Biden. He is the emperor of the empire. So. He is right, is your right, but since is the other way around, because he's an empire, his right is your right, because he controls everything in the empire. Is the imperium, the empire. So so the taxes need to change, so everyone can have. It's not that it's not an empire. It can be an empire, but it can be an empire that the people, that is profitable, because that is, you cannot allocate possibilities that doesn't exist. You need to the possibilities, so everyone can have their own business and the exchange of goods and services to be possible. So you can eliminate the income tax, like it happened when the cotton, and they just told me that through Twitter. Yeah. But it has to be a lever for that. You have to have leverage to that, with interest rates. For example, now the 15, they say, oh, we are going to make a pause, we are going to skip. Believe me, for the naives, if they pause, next hike is going to be 50 points, and there is going to be 50 points from then and then on. Yeah, because you see it on the economy. You don't need to be, China stagflated. United States is going into a small technical recession. Europe is already in recession. Japan devaluated their currency. England devaluated their currencies. Latin America is absorbing the deflation, but after this is going to have the worst of the inflations of our history. And we need to make all these countries have the United States dollar, because this is a joke, because all these banks are connected to the Fed, and all the central banks of the world are connected. So we live on a dream that is false. It's not a dream, it's a nightmare for these countries. And we are Westerns. I don't know. It's like I said, I don't care if it happens outside the Western borders of the. That is in that thing. I do have borders, because if something happens to any country inside here, we are all together, and we need to be one. We cannot throw losses in our own people, because it's not a bad thing, but the Latinos are going to choose this president of the United States. And of course, if I'm going to run, I'm not going to fight against them. I want to offer a solution for their families, for everything, And my solution is to integrate the whole continent into the United States of America and have regional feds for them, and charge taxes and interest. Believe me, here in Latin America, nobody pays taxes, and I want to make that true and build me myself. I don't pay taxes. I don't want to pay. I want to make that a right, not a like an obligation, but a right. Because if you don't pay taxes, believe me, there is no taxation without representation, and there is no representation without taxation. Because more in the United States, the lobby is legal, so you need to do lobby, you need to do taxing so the government pay attention to you. That's it. So basically, it is. The budget is assumed by the Fed, and they lever that budget with interest to have a net zero, and that is going to be the new zero. Like when you have like something that to measure the weight that has net zero, you put net zero, and that gives you the zero with, for example, say glass or something, or a plastic thing that you are going to put there to put something inside. And you Yeah, you put net zero, and then you measure without the container. Yeah. So that's what I'm proposing as my bill that I'm going to do. Okay, I know that is hard because, well, the lobby and stuff, but the companies, I think that the companies are going to agree with that because, well, the issue is that the companies are owned by the banks, and the banks don't want to pay those interests. But that thing needs to happen and export that inflation to the rest of the world until it became an equilibrium. Yeah, because if not, that is what is creating the depopulation in the United States. That is creating the LGBTQI plus A. That is what is creating that. You know, it's the nature. You see, or reorganizing itself, knowing that they need less people, so they reorganize. Yeah, but there is lost forever bloodlines and everything, and it's a holocaust. You know, it's a holocaust, and it's not being made by the woke, by anything. It's being made by everyone together. Yeah, you know, in the lack of consciousness. So it needs to be a tax reform, and the tax reform has to involve the Federal Reserve Act of the Congress to make sure that the Fed, because now it's even more, it is even worse than that. It's like I said, but it's through bonds, and you have to pay interest on those bonds to the Federal Reserve and the people. You know, imagine that. And the other people, for example, you deal with oil. I have dollars here. Everyone, Venezuela is full of dollars. Bolivia is full of dollars. Argentina is full of dollars. Everyone make the dollar happen. Iraq is full of dollars. In China, all the Chinese elites only dollar. You know, obviously. And everyone dollar, and nobody paid taxes in the United States. You know, so it's like, how can you do that? And you need to make credit change, because you need to you need to change. You need to collect from the monetary universe money. What do you do to make that? To make the credit always available. You know, the tax reform has to be with a reform of the Federal Reserve Act and a reform of the credit standards of the United States of America. Because now, for example, if you go to collections, then they report you, and then you have bad credit. And it's normal that it has to be like that. But there is a point when you don't have any credit, and at that point, nobody helps you. Yeah, and you don't have any opportunity to go up and to make your life again. So that has to be taken by the state, and the state has to be, hey, come here. You arrived to this point. How are you going to solve this issue? Because you cannot live without credit, because we live in a credit-driven system. So you cannot live without credit. How are you going to go out of this situation? Oh, in this moment, okay. Then they start appearing the situation. Okay, do you bail out to the banks? Are you to bail out to the people? Are you going to do bail-ins? How are you going to solve the issue of the credit of the population when the population, the people burn their houses and do a lot of things to take the money and lose the credit, and they don't care? Okay, how are we going to solve that? That has to be in a tax reform. You know, it has to involve tax reform, credit reform, and it has to be with the Federal Reserve Act. You know? Because if not, it's going to be communism. So you need to lever that. So it is like liberalism. If the L, you put it as C, is, or S is sideralism, like cyberalism, like the universe. You know. So you need to make sure that everyone is available to have the verb. You know, because if you don't have verb, well, there is only going to be that the central whole is going to be a emitting like Hawking radiation, but nominal you are going to see that the numbers go up, but the size of the economy, the production is going to go low, and the banks are going to keep they are not going to move, so they are going to make their their the with the dark matter to move their planets, but the dark matter are going to start making the orbits of the planets go long, along, 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 and then you're going to have that you don't have any well ability for the population to consume, and then you are going to start making the population have no money and no opportunities to consume. So you don't get a like lack of the things like empty shells or something like that, and that is communism. That is how the Soviet Union ended, and that's how Venezuela ended, and that's how everything happens, because it's good that, for example, in an expansion you have empty shells one that is nothing, that is even better than having the food on the shells and not having any possibilities for the people. And that is what's good made by Biden, that it was very good to do by him. But the system has to be reformed, there has to be a tax reform by a Federal Reserve Act reform and with a credit reform, that because everyone should enjoy that credit, for example, a lot of bankers, if it's like for example, something that the state should do, not the banks, because like it becomes like the bank is like making a public service, lending money to the people, losing money, and then they have to lever that money outside and stuff like that. And that is not correct. You have to charge the interest to the people, and the people need to add those interests to their items, and the economy has to be in equilibrium, it has to function, and the black hole has to have a verb, and the arms of the galaxy have to turn around, so the people are able to make their own businesses, because in this moment it's impossible to make businesses in the United States if you don't have credit, if you don't lever. See, if you see how much is going up the property value and the rents, but you see that inflation is going down, how are you going to, for example, the Bud Light is $1.89 a full pack, So how are you going to compete against that if you have a small beverage company? It's impossible. Impossible. Imagine that. They subsidize, just throw the losses in the population. Okay, if you want to throw losses, burn cash and throw losses just to make the empire over the world, But it's not okay to do it in a way that you eliminate competition from your own economy, because then no one is going to be able to produce. No one. And then you only have real economy, and real economy lives from the true economy, from the productive economy, from the informal economy, because that is what the demand of the dollars that are not regulated by credit is, where you throw the losses, That is why, for example, some countries in South America that are more than 50% informal economy, they don't are not broke, because that is what supports that these countries has more than 80% of their GDP are pure credit. It's more than Evergrande. It's more than anything that China have experienced. This are all bubbles in Latin American economies. Are bubbles. You see, the GDPs are in thousands, are in hundreds or billions, and the true economy of the citizens are less than tens of billions and below 50s in all the countries. I'm talking about Mexico, I'm talking about Colombia, I'm talking about Brazil, I'm talking about all of these countries. And it should be states, not countries, because in the sense of the word, a country is not a country anymore. And we need to stop that, because, well, I don't know, it is a joke, and it's a nightmare for the population, and that every 4 years you see a different clown making saying lies to the population and stuff like that, and the people are trying to make those things and then you start seeing what is happening, and then you see that everything is like, of course I can do the campaigns for them because my people are the ones that control them and stuff like that. So we need to start being aware of that, and respecting democracy, because if we respect democracy, we know that we are all being managed and we are all being AI driven, but then we are going to be able to also be the one that control the thing, like Biden, Every citizen can be elected. Any person can be elected if their things are correct. If the people choose to be like that, without any interference, without anything. The election transparency. Every single thing to be able for everyone to see it. For the population, because that is the difference with China. If you type democracy there, you cannot allow there is no allow the population to see that. In Colombia, in Brazil, in Argentina, in all of these Latin America, there is now Mintics that are like technology things, and they are subverting the population to make it be against the United States and stuff like that. And that is wrong, because that is made for the population not to go there. And they need the people, They need more than 10 million people. They say, oh yeah, but they need what they need is people that has degrees and stuff like that. Believe me, the universities, it comes from one birth city, one birth, So now there is no universities. Now your teachings, if they teach you something, because believe me, they teach you through the AI to show you how it's done, to tell you how to give you the class. They even tell you something, and through the other things with analogies, they teach you how to do it, But the thing is that universities now are a set of regulations. So the companies doesn't have competition and are not thrown out of the market, So it is like a monopoly game, And it doesn't have any issue with that. The thing is that it needs to be in competition. How? You allow competition, then you buy your competition, You allow competition, then you see how the things are done. That you can buy the ideas, you can buy the intellectual property to make your big business do better. You can buy the company and take the good capital. Then you have, that's how Coca-Cola started, McDonald's, all the stuff. The big companies of now were done that way. So it needs to happen again, And for that, it needs to be a tax reform. It needs to be a Federal Reserve Act reform, and it has to be also a credit reform. Because if you don't have one of those three, you are not going to be able to manage to change the economy. You need to have those three, and I'm going to present that to the Congress. Okay, bye bye.